ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते नारायणाय। ॐ नमो भगवते नारायणाय। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। अनन्तसंसारसमुद्रतार नौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्यसाम्राज्यपूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमोक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। यदङ्घ्रिपङ्केरुहरेणुलग्नं निपीयनीरं विमलान्तरङ्गः जानामि तत्त्वं निजमात्मरूपम्। जानामि तत्त्वं निजमात्मरूपम्। तं नौमि नारायणतीर्थमार्यं। तं नौमि नारायणतीर्थमार्यम्। Namaskaram, all of you. Welcome to the 64th session of Krishna Leela Tarangini, which happens to be the 4th session on Ragasri-Lakshminarasimhan. We touched upon the greatest tribute that Uddhava, the foremost among the devotees of Bhagavan Krishna, paid when he exclaimed with a voice choked with emotion, एवं भक्तिः सकलभुवने नेक्षिता न श्रुता वा किं शास्त्रोगैः किमिह तपसा गोपिकाभ्यो नमोस्तु इत्यानन्दाकुलम् उपगतं गोकुलात् उद्धवं तं दृष्ट्वा हृष्टो गुरुपुरपते पाहि मामामयोगात्. Nowhere else in the world can we see this type of devotion. இந்த மாதிரி பக்தி நாம் கேட்டதும் இல்லை, பார்க்கவும் இல்லை. What is the use of following the Vedic scriptures routinely without knowing the intent or purpose behind such scriptural follow-up? Even staunch penance cannot give you this position. My salutations to the Gopikas and Gopiis. Oh, let the entire prapancham prostrate before these blessed Gopikas. We then heard the song of Gopikas paying the Lord the greatest of tributes with unparalleled devotion as explicitly brought about in Gopika Geetam, the essence of Bhagavatam, in Dasamaskandam, chapter 31 by Sukabrahman. Gopya Uchuhu, this is how he commenced. Specifically, the poetic meter of these verses is equally beautiful, and also for the most part, in each line, the first and seventh syllables begin with the same consonant, as do the second syllables of all four lines. We heard this Gopika Geetam in a raga style in the last session, and this time we are going to observe this Gopika Geetam closely and review some of the important phrases used there. Jayati Dedikam Janmana Vrajaha Srayata Indira Shashvadatrahi Daita Drishyatam Dikshu Tavakaha Tvai Dridashava Vam Vichinvate. The Gopiis said, O Bhagavane, the dearest to us, your birth in the land of Braja has made it extremely and exceedingly glorious. Thus, even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, has decided to live amidst us, and therefore she lives right here. It's only for your sake that we, the bhaktas, the devoted servants, we maintain our lives. Otherwise, there is no purpose why we should be living. Now we have been searching for you all over, so kindly show us where you are. Sharad Udashaye Sadhu Jada Sat Sarasi Jodara Sri Mushadrisha Surata Natate Ashulka Dasika Varada Nignato Neka Kim Vadaha. O Lord of love, in your beauty, your glance excels the whole of the finest, most perfectly formed lotus within the autumn pond. The question comes from inexplicable frustration of the Gopikas. They are asking him, we have given everything valuable to each one of us to you completely without any question, without even a thought. By your neglect like this, you are simply killing us. You are murdering us. Suratanatha te ashulka dasika varada nignato neha kim vadaha. Can you tell us why do you do this? Isn't this equivalent to murder? When Krishna dropped his stick and ran away from Surdas, laughingly Surdas said, Baha chudakar jata ho, nibala jaan ke mohi, kiradai se jab jaigo, marda badau go tohi. Hey Krishna, there is nothing great in leaving a blind old man like me and running away. If you are gutsy or man enough, O Krishna, try to run out of my heart. That is the challenge I pose to you. Running away from me, it's not a big deal. Because I am already, for the external world, I have no eyesight. Baha chudakar jataho, nibala jane ko mohi, kiradai se jab jaigo, marda badaogo tohi. The path of divine love holds no place for the aham or I. Sant Kabir elucidates this perfectly when he says, Jab meta tab guru nahi, ab guru hai mein nahi, prema gali ati sankari, tame do nahi samahi. This is in Bhojpuri. Kabir says, when I was there, I meaning within inverted commas, when I was there was no God. When Aham was there was no God. Now that God is in my heart, there is no place for the Ahankaram because God has been substituted in the place where my heart was filled with Ahankaram. The street of love is very narrow. Both God and I cannot reside together. Prema gali ati sankari tame do na samahi. In the next stanza, Sukha says, Visha jalapya yad, vyala rakshasad, varsha marutad, vaidhyutanalad, vrishamayad majat, Vishwato Bhaya Drishava Te Vayam Rakshita Muhuhu. O greatest of personalities, O Krishna, don't you remember saving us from death from water poisoned by Kaliya in Yamuna? Then from Agasura, the serpent demon, who was like a cave swallowing herds of cattle and some of us, saving us from the rain bombs and inexplicable power of torrents of rain caused by Indra. Then you saved us from Trinavarta, a whirlwind demon who swept us all, from the stupid and angry Indra who wanted to destroy us with his Vajra, from Arishtasura, a bull demon who could have raised us to dust. All these times you were the one savior for us. You seem to have forgotten while you ran away from us. This is the question that Gopikas posed to him. Then in the next stanza they say, Nakalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akila Dehinam Mantaratmadruku Vikana Sartito Vishwaguptaye Saka Ude Ivan Satvatam Kule. It's a beautiful expression. From the ancient Vedic clan were believed to have descended from the Kulam or Vrishni Kulam. And who was Vrishni? The son of Satvata, a great descendant of Yadu, the son of King Yayati, who in turn had two wives, Gandhari and Madri. This Madri should not be mistaken with similar names later in the Kuru lineage. Yayati had a son named Devamidusha by his wife Madri. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, was the grandson of Devamidusha. According to the Puranas, the Vrishnis were residents of Dwaraka. So here Gopikas address him as Satvatam Kule. Of course, the stanzas 5, 6, 7 and 8, you see the meaning on the slide. For paucity of time, I will jump to stanza 10. Prahasitam Priya Prema Vikshanam Viharanam Chate Dhyana Mangalam Rahasi Samvido Ya Hridis Prishaha Guhaga No Manaha Shobhayantihi. This is very important. Your smiles, your sweet, loving glances, the intimate leelas, the confidential talks that we all enjoyed with you, all these are auspicious to meditate upon and they touch our hearts. But they look like illusion to us at the same time now, because maybe all of them that you put upon was an act to deceive us. Thereby the Gopikas call him, O deceiver. They very much agitate our minds. I do not know whether you did all the smiles and your sweet talk and loving glances and all the leelas were nothing but Maya in the world of Maya that you wore. Thereby we got deceived. We thought that they are all genuine. That's why we surrendered ourselves to you. Then we come to the slokas 11, 12 and 13 and 14, which you can easily see from the slide, the meanings. The most important thing I would really focus on is sloka 15. Atati yat bhavan anni kananam truti yugayate tvam apashyatam kutila kuntalam shrimukam chate jada udikshatam pakshmakritu drisham. When you go off to the forest during the day, even a tiny fraction of a millisecond becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. That much of pining we have for you, we don't even want to close our eyelids for a split second. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely is the adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our own eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish creator. In other words, Gopikas say, we wish the creator had not created eyelids because they start flickering every now and then. They close and they open, which is part of the physical mechanism of a human body. Had the creator not created these eyelids, we won't be wasting our time. We'll be constantly looking at you. When we had the pleasure of the cynosure of looking constantly at you, we were enjoying your beautiful curly flowing locks. But we always used to feel a sense of pang because our eyelids were obstructing by constantly flickering. In Sishtastakam, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who lived in the 15th century, to be precise, between 1486 and 1534, Mahaprabhu was considered to be the Kali incarnation of Bhagavan Krishna, who himself wanted to experience firsthand the Nama Vaibhavam of how sweet is Krishna's name and assert the exaltation of Nama Sankirtanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth itself was, according to Sankirtana Bhagavatas, nothing but Bhagavan Krishna's incarnation to tell the whole world that forget about any other Leela, talk about my name alone. Nama Sankirtanam can bring you all close to me. In fact, in Slokam 7 of Shishtashtakam, Yugayitam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravrishtayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering even a minute to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. That's precisely what Shuka said in Sloka 15 through Gopikas. In the next Sloka 16, Patisutanvaya Bratru Bandhavan Ati Vilangyate Anti Achyutagataha Gati Vitasdavo Gita Mohitaha Kitava Yoshitaha Kastya Jain Nisi. Dear Achyuta, you know very well why we have come to you, begging for you. Who but a cheater like you would abandon such a dedicated young woman who come to see him in the middle of the night, enchanted by the loud song of his flute? Just tell us, who else will be so foolish like us to throw away everything we had and just come in search of you? Just to see you, we have completely sacrificed everything, including our husband, children, ancestors, brothers, and other relatives. Because when we go back, and if we go back, we will not be accepted. They will throw us out. What we have done is something unpardonable in normal parlance, human parlance. But when we have done that kind of a Saranagati to you, is that proper on your part to disappear from us? That is the question. But this definitely requires certainly an amplification about Saranagati. This is Paripurna Saranagati. That is why the exalted Uddhava cried, Evam Bhaktihi Sakala Bhuvanena Ekshita Nashrtava Kim Shastro Gehi Kimiga Tapasa Gopikabhyo Namostu Ityanandakulam Upagatam Gokulat Uddhavam Tam Drishtva Drishto Guru Purapate Pahi Mama Yogat. Nowhere else in the world can we see this type of devotion, which I have never seen or heard. That's why Uddhava cried like that. Let us take a few minutes to review the Saranagati from scriptural tenets. Some 2-3 years ago, I mentioned about Shatvata Tantra, a classic spiritual work of extraordinary significance, which I perchance stumbled upon during my collegiate days in the 1960s. I was able to get hold of a 1934 publication from Banaras Chaukamba series. I was not fortunate enough to understand the purport of that great work until late in my life. Mystery surrounds the age of this specific work known as Satvata Tantra, but it is averred by scholars that this work may have preceded Srimad Bhagavatam, as the introduction mentions the questions of Suta Pauranika about the avatara ragasyams of all incarnations to Narada, and in turn Narada approaches Bhagavan Shiva, the greatest of storytellers, to narrate to them not only on Krishna Leela, but all other incarnations. Mahadeva Shri Parameshwara becomes overwhelmed with emotion and gives a detailed account that he is giving the account of Krishnavatara Ragasyam as he learned from Sriman Narayana, his counterpart. For our limited purposes, let us now understand the definition of surrender as revealed by one of the Trinity, Sri Mahadeva himself, in Shatvata Tantra, that's called the Rahasyam of Krishnavatara. In the 4th chapter of Shatvata Tantra, Sri Narada asks the question, Sri Krishna Padabdya Sharanam Vada Me Bahu Vittama Vinayena Pumanyati Kurvan Bhaktim Apishrapam. O wise one, kindly tell me the upaya of taking shelter of Bhagavan Krishna's lotus feet. Saranagati, without which whatever devotional service a person performs is an absolute vain. For that Shiva responds, Kayavang manasam sakshat Krishne paramapurushe parinishtashrayam yadvai sharanam parikirtanam. With one's body, words and mind to take shelter of Bhagavan Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, is known as surrender or Saranagati. Parinishtashrayam yadvai sharanam parikirtanam. In the next sloka, Shiva says, Etadvai trividham proktam vedavidbihi dvijottama pratamam madhyamam srettam kramashaha shrunu tanmune. O best of Brahmanas, they who know the Vedas say that the surrender to Bhagavan is of three kinds. Pratamam, Madhyamam, Sreshtam. The initial stage, the intermediate stage, and the highest stage. Let us hear one after the other what these are. Dharme tirte cha devadav rakshakatvam aghaditaha yad buddhi nishtitam krishne kritam tat pratamam smrutam. The conviction that following religious principles, going on pilgrimages, surrendering to Bhagavan Krishna will protect me from the reactions of the past sins. That is considered the pratamam or initial stage of Saranagati to Lord Krishna. So the conviction itself is the initial stage. Kalatra putra mitreshu dane geha gavadishu yanmamatva ashrayam Krishne kritam tat madhyamam smrutam. The second conviction that I shall give to Bhagavan Krishna is my wife, my children, my friends, my wealth, cows and the other things that are all considered to be my own. That is the second conviction. That is the intermediate stage of Saranagati to Krishna. And the third stage or the Uttamam is Dehad Avatmano Yavad Atmatva Shrayanadiyat Tat Sarva Krishna Padabje Kritam Shettam Prakirtitam. The conviction that I shall place at Bhagavan's lotus feet myself, my body, and everything that is believed to be mine. What was the Madhyamam? My wife, my children, my bandhus, my material possessions, etc. Here now the final stage is I will surrender myself. In absolute surrender, my body and everything that I have so far been believing to be mine. And that is the highest stage of Saranagati to Bhagavan Krishna. Mahadeva answers another one of Narada's questions about the cause or reason for the three plenary expansions of Bhagavan Krishna in Shatwata Tantra. Vishnostu trini rupani purushakyani ato viduhu ekam tu mahataha srishtihi dvidiyam tu anda samstitam trutiyam sarvabhutastam tani jatva vimuchyate. Bhagavan Vishnu has three forms called Purushas. The first is Mahavishnu. He is the creator of the total material energy known as Mahat. The second is Garbhodashai, who is situated within each universe. And the third is Shirodasai, who lives in the heart of every living being, whatever may be the living being. He who knows these three becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. This Sakshat Paramashiva giving the secret how to understand the three forms of Purushas. Prapatti or self-surrender or Sharanagati is an essential teaching in the Sri Vaishnava Tattva. According to Pancharatra Samhita, Ahir Bhutnya Samhita, Lakshmi Tantra 17th Anuvaka, Sloka 60 to 61, they explain 6 aspects or angas to Prapatti. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshisyati iti vishwaso gotrupta varanam tata atmaniksheba karpanye shadvida sharanagatihi. Doing only what is favorable for unalloyed bhakti, anukulyasya sankalpam. Rejecting everything that is unfavorable or that hinders unalloyed bhakti is pratikulyasya varjanam. And having faith that only Bhagavan Krishna is my protector and no one else, Rakshisyati iti vishwaso, and accepting Bhagavan as the only one as maintainer and no one else, complete submission of oneself to Bhagavan In other words, here false ego must be completely erased. The fact that you are surrendering to Bhagavan, you should not even feel about that. It should be a surrender where it's a total submission without even the thought about such surrender. Finally, feeling humble, significant, wretched, materially destitute, etc., that comes Atma Nikshepe Karpanye Shadvida Sharanagati. These are the 6 aspects of Sharanagati. In fact, Haribhakti Vilasa in chapter 11, sloka 676, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many other works that came after that, repeat the same slokam of Anukulyasya Sankalpaha Pratikulyasya Varjanam Rakshitiri Vishwaso Gotrupta Varnam Tada Atmanishebe Karpanya Shadvida Sharanagati. This is one of the Prapatti Vakyams that Vaishnava Tantram explains, and in Sri Vaishnava Tattva, they use it as a regular Sharanagati secret. And most of the works which are based on Vishnu and Haribhakti Vilasa and others repeat the same sloka in the context of Sharanagati. Often in my earlier Upanyasam, devotees have raised a very pertinent question seeking distinctions. Is Bhakti and Prapatti or Sharanagati one and the same? Or how do we distinguish Bhakti from Prapatti and understand the path to Sharanagati? Gopiis have a sterling and fitting answer to this question by their very conduct, as we saw and as we will see more very soon. Even Uddhava had this gnawing feeling or question that is lurking when Bhattadri used him to express the astonishment, Evam Bhaktihi Sakala Bhavane Nekshita Nashrutava. Why did Bhattadri use Uddhava for this kind of an expression? So I was trying to look through this and trying to understand the distinctions in simplistic words of Bhakti and Prapatti or Sharanagati. Then finally came to some humble understanding. This is just only the way I feel about it. Bhakti is the path of devotion. It is meditation towards Bhagavan, longing for his union, lamenting on his separation like how Gopiis did that lamentation. Doing as much service as possible for his pleasure, not our pleasure. Like the great jnanis who surrendered, like Uddhava, like many other people who did only service and lamented when they were not able to see him, and the service was done only for the pleasure of Krishna. Karma and jnana are ancillaries for bhakti. Sometimes one may wonder and get confused, should I have to do karma? Should I have to acquire jnana? As long as they are acquired as ancillaries towards bhakti and understanding bhakti, that is not only permitted, necessary. Then bhakti is a upaya or means to reach our Bhagavan. Bhakti is sadhya upaya, achieved by our efforts, are even known as pravritti marga. The pravritti marga, or endeavoring in action, bhakti as a upaya or means is known as sadhana. Prapatti, on the contrary, is absolute surrender. Simplistically, bhakti is the path of devotion, whereas prapatti is total surrender, paripurna sharanagati, to the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, having faith that Sriman Narayana or Krishna's lotus feet is the only upaya or means per se, is sharanagati or prapatti. Prapatti, also known as nyasa or sharanagati, is siddha upaya. That is, means that is pre-existing and not achieved by our efforts, unlike in bhakti. This is so because Bhagavan's sirvadi or feet are not achieved or reached by our efforts. Avan adukku anugrahikanam. We may do a lot. Many people have done millennia of tapas, but still until Bhagavan decides that he is going to just accept us at his feet, nothing else happens. Because his tiruvadi is not easily achieved or reached by our own efforts, because the minute you know that you are doing efforts to reach that, you have defeated the very purpose of prapatti. That exalted place is already existing and ever waiting to respond. Bhagavan has given your position when you will be reaching his lotus feet, etc. But in order for your Atma to yearn for it and reach that, you should do Nishkamya Prapatti. The Prapatti itself should be done without knowing that you are doing the Saranagati. Tvameva upaya bhuto me bhaveti prarthana matihi Saranagatihi ityuktva sadeve asmin prayujyatam. This is from Agastya Samhita on Saranagati. Tvameva upaya bhuto me bhaveti prarthana matihi. This is Nivritti Marga, abstaining from action, abstaining from doing anything as means for liberation, other than requesting and accepting Bhagavan himself as the means. For further explanation and bhakti and manmana bhava, the simplistic way is to go to Gita 9th chapter, gives you exact description of manmana bhava. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mameva aishyasi yuktaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisance to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, once you reach that point, surely you will come to me effortlessly. Manmanam avavatbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mameva aishyasi yuktaivam atmanam matparayana. What Gopiis exhibited was nothing but Saranagati or Prapatti, the highest order of business which no one else could replicate. Is Uddhava the only person to say this? No. Let us see who else said that a bit later and keep that as a suspense now. Let us see the last three slokams from Gopika Geetam, which are nothing but the summary of Saranagati. Ragasi samvidam muhichayodayam pragasitananam prema vikshanam brihaduraha shriyo viksha dhamate Muhurati Spruha Mukhyate Manaha. Then, of course, the 18th and 19th are nothing but, oh Bhagavane, your all auspicious appearance vanquishes the distress. We continue to long for your association. Kindly give us a little bit of that medicine. You don't have to give yourself totally. One bit is enough. The 19th sloka is Paripurna Saranagati. The sloka and the slide will explain to you actually what the Gopiis meant by their surrender. Sri Sukha says in chapter 32, right after Gopika Geetam, in the very first slokam, Iti Gopyaha Pragayantyaha Pralapantyascha Chitrada Ruruduhu Suswaram Rajanne Krishna Darshana Lalasaha. Sukha says, O Parikshit Maharaja, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the Gopiis began weeping loudly. Ruruduhu Suswaram. They were very eager to see Bhagavan Krishna. Many later year scholars and acharyas gave extensive interpretation of how the Gopiis felt deprived, cheated particularly, and how they did Nindastuti about Bhagavan disappearing. Just like Surdas made a very poignant comment, when Krishna disappeared abruptly and how they felt totally lost without Krishna, having lost everything in their life. One great poet, Utukada Venkatakavi, who lived in the 18th century, that's precisely 1700 to 1765, did several hundreds of exquisite compositions on Krishna. And one such composition is not only interesting as an Nindastuti, but seems to capture this Nindastuti in a very short song, as though the Gopiis were singing to Krishna in their viraha, at the same time doing a powerful Ninda about the selfishness and the cheating that Krishna often does. Let us listen to the song and then you will understand the meaning automatically. Aasayinai paradi, perasayinai paradi, aasayinai paradi, perasayinai paradi, aasayinai paradi, sagi perasayinai பாரடி சகி ஆசையினை பாரடி சகி பேராசையினை பாரடி. எத்தனை கோடி கோடி பக்தர்கள் ஆனாலும் அத்தனையும் போதாதென்று மெத்த மெத்த வேணும் என்ற ஆசையினை பாரடி. கண்ணன் பேராசையினை பாரடி கண்ணன் பேராசையினை பாரடி. எத்தனை கோடி கோடி பக்தர்கள் ஆனாலும் அத்தனையும் போதாதென்று மெத்த மெத்த வேணும் என்ற ஆசையினை பாரடி. ஆசைக்கும் எதற்கும் அளவுண்டு இவனோ அத்தனையும் நீருவான் எத்தை கண்டு. ஆசைக்கும் எதற்கும் அளவுண்டு இவனோ அத்தனையும் மீறுவான் எத்தை கண்டு. நேசமுடன் நின்றாடும் தொண்டர்களை கண்டு நிஜமுடன் நின்றாடும் தொண்டர்களை கண்டு நீயும் நானும் ஒன்றென்று ஆடி பாடி கொண்ட ஆசையினை பாரடி. நேசமுடன் நின்றாடும் தொண்டர்களை கண்டு நீயும் நானும் ஒன்றென்று ஆடி பாடி கொண்ட ஆசையினை பாரடி. கண்ணல் பேராசையினை பாரடி. அப்பனை மதிக்காதான் ஒருவன் அவன் பேரோ பிரகலாதன் எனும் கல்மனத்தன். அப்பனை மதிக்காதான் ஒருவன் அவன் பேரோ பிரகலாதன் என்னும் கல்மனத்தன். அப்பனை மதிக்காதான் வேறொருவன் அவன் பேரோ சுகன் என்னும் கிளிப்பிள்ளை. அப்பனை மதிக்காதான் வேறொருவன் அவன் பேரோ சுகன் என்னும் கிளிப்பிள்ளை. ஆசையினை பாரடி கண்ணல் ஆசையினை பாரடி கண்ணல் பேராசையினை பாரடி. அண்ணனை வெறுத்தானே இன்னவனை நம்பி அண்ணனை வெறுத்தானே இன்னவனை நம்பி அவன் வேறோ விபீஷணன் ராவணன் தம்பி. அண்ணனை வெறுத்தானோ இன்னவனை நம்பி அவன் வேறோ விபீஷணன் ராவணன் தம்பி. அண்ணனை வெறுத்தானே இன்னவனை நம்பி அவன் பேரோ சுக்ரீவன் வாலியின் தம்பி. அண்ணனை வெறுத்தானே இன்னவனை நம்பி அவன் பேரோ சுக்ரீவன் வாலியின் தம்பி. ஆசையினை பாரடி பேராசையினை பாரடி பேராசையினை பாரடி. கண்ணன் எத்தனை கோடி கோடி பக்தர்கள் ஆனாலும் அத்தனையும் போதாதென்று மெத்த மெத்த வேணும் என்ற ஆசையினை கண்ணன் ஆசையினை கண்ணன் ஆசையினை கண்ணன் பேராசையினை பாரடி. Sukha says to Parikshit that Krishna decides not to make them suffer anymore and thereby appears before them. In the very second sloka in chapter 32, he says, Tasam Avirabuchaurihi Swayamana Mukambujaha Pitambradaraha Shragvi Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. It's the most unusual expression that Sukha uses, Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. What does it mean? Bhagavan Krishna, with his usual smile and his characteristic lotus face, appears before the gopis who have been pining and crying in Viraha. Pitambradaraha, wearing a garland and a yellow garment. Pitambradaraha Shragvi. How did he appear? He appeared as the one who can bewilder the very Manmata, who got the name Manmata because he bewilders other people. Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. Manmatanake Manmatan. Manmataha. Manamataha Manmataha. But this person, who is our person? Lord Krishna makes Manmata crazy. So while Parikshit did not question Sukha on this aspect further, Krishna clarifies the lurking question later while there is Krishna Uddhava Samvadam. That is very relevant in this context. Tan avidan mai anushangabhaddadiyaha swamatmanamadas tatedham yata samadau manayo abditoye nadyaha pravishta iva nama rupe. My dear Uddhava, just as great munis, sages in yoga trance merge into self-realization, just like the rivers merging unto the ocean, and are not thus aware of the material names and forms. In other words, the names of the rivers do not matter when they are merged into the ocean. Similarly, when the great sages in their yoga trance merge into self-realization, nobody knows which Atman merged into Paramatman because they become one with Paramatman. Similarly, these gopis of Vrindavana were so completely attached to me. In other words, Krishna tells Uddhava, they are so intensely attached to me, they were identified with me within their mind that they could not think of their own bodies or what is happening around this world or what is going to happen in their future lives if there is any left. Their entire consciousness was simply bound up in me in total Saranagati. Yata samadau manayo abditoye nadyaha pravitta iva nama rupe. Matkama ramanam jaramasvarupa vidoho balaha brahmamam paramam prapuhu sangachata sahasrashaha. All those hundreds of thousands of gopis, since they already understood me to be their most charming lover, they desired me in that way. While they were unaware of my actual position as Brahman, that I am not attached to anybody and I cannot be attached to anybody. Yet by intimately identifying with me, even in that nature of a paramour or a charming lover, the gopis attained me completely samambonam, like the Maharishis submerge into me in self-realization. Like the rivers merge into the ocean. Same gopis, by their pure love this way, attained me, who is unattainable as supreme absolute truth, but in perfect union, the gopis were with me. After that, there was nothing else left. Then in the sloka 14 and 15, Krishna clarifies this. Therefore, my dear Uddhava, abandon the scriptures as well as the procedures of supplementary Vedic literatures and their positive and negative injunctions after the initial abhilasha. In other words, if you have been doing scriptural practice and procedures, etc., when I say abandon, you abandon them because you need to understand me totally from out of that knowledge. But if that knowledge is not taking you closer to me, abandon all of them. Disregard that which has been heard and that which is to be heard. Simply take Saranagati unto me and only me, for I am the Supreme Brahman, right situated within the heart of all conditioned souls, including you. Mahamekameva Sharanam Atmanam Sarvadehinam Yahi Sarvatma Bhavena Mayaswa Hyokuto Bayaha. Take shelter wholeheartedly and by my grace be free from fear in all those circumstances. Well, within a few years, Bhagavan Krishna is going to repeat this to Arjuna at the war front. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvabhavepyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. He said this exactly what he told Uddhava in the 12th chapter, 15th sloka. Mahamekameva sharanamatmanam sarvadehinam yagi sarvatma bhavena mayasya kyokuto bayaha. Exactly the same sentiment in same form he repeated in the 18th chapter, the 66th sloka. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papepyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. Only the word play is different. Sentiments are absolute. Is Krishna confusing Arjuna and all of us that we have to abandon all rituals and scriptures? No, absolutely not. Let us see this closely for the purport. Remember that Krishna uses another 12 verses to clarify this before concluding Gita in the 18th chapter. After the 66, you need to go through 12 more verses for his clarification as to what he meant in this sloka 66. Krishna has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of dharma, code, knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the super soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control and meditation, etc., etc. He has described in so many ways different types of order, code, and dharma. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that so far he has been struggling to understand him, that have been probably previously been explained to him by his own self in earlier chapters of Gita. He said, don't be bamboozled by all that. I brought you into the process so that you can understand where you are heading. Now I am awakening you. So Arjuna gets awakened at the point when he should simply surrender to Krishna. So he prepares him and then he says, now you are ready to completely forget everything else. Surrender unto me. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions. Exactly like what Gopiis did. They did not think about what happened earlier, what is going to happen later, because to them, the only reality is their identification with Paramatma. But Bhagavan here personally promises to protect Arjuna from everything, including the fear of fear. Like what he promised to Uddhava, I will protect you from fear of fear. Surrender everything and surrender unto me by abandoning everything. Gopis already did even before Krishna talked to them. Uddhava had to be said that. Arjuna had to be given that instruction. But the Gopis were self-realized souls. They already did that. Bhagavan did this first to Gopis. If you remember a few sessions earlier, he gave some indirect hints. Don't even approach me with that kind of a paramar relationship. Understand who I am. Narayana Tirtha very eloquently sang 3 songs on that. Gopis didn't understand then. Only when they lost him, they understood the tattva. But once Krishna knew that they have understood, he reappeared before his staunchest devotees and made them realize that he is within each one of them. Bhattadri has an identical description following Sukha's explanation to Parikshit. Bhattadri asked Guruvayurappan, it is well known that you are an ocean of compassion. If it is so, will you be able to bear the lamentation of those Gopikas who, with their pride completely gone, were craving most eagerly to see you? Will you not appear before them? This is his question. Tatavyata sankula manasanam Tatavyata sankula manasanam Tatavyata sankula manasanam Vrajangananam Karunaika Sindha Jagatrayi Mohana Mohanatma Tvam Pradurasihi Tvam Pradurasihi Aimandahasi Jagatrayi Mohana Mohanatma Tvam Pradurasihi Aimandahasi Sandigdha Sandarsanamatmakantam Tvam Vikshatanmaya Sakasatadani Sandikta Sandarsanamatmakantam Tvam Vijyatanvayaga Sahasatadani Kim na chakruhu pramadati bara Kim na chakruhu pramadati bara Sattvam gadati palaya marutesha Kim na chakru pramadati bara Sattvam gadati palaya marutesha Tatavyata Sankula Manasanam Rajangananam Karunaika Sindo Jagatrayi Mohana Mohanatma Tvam Pradurasihi Ai Mandahasi. You are in fact the charmer of even Manmata, who is supposed to be charming the three worlds. If you are the charmer of Manmata, you appeared before them adorned by a smile, gentle like moonlight, and dispel the darkness of grief from those devotees' minds. He repeats the expression of Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. Bhattadari explains here exactly the same sentiment. Jagatrayi Mohana Mohanatma Tvam Pradurasi Hai Mandahasi. With a charming smile that can charm the entire prapancham, all three worlds. Krishna, you appeared before them, gentle like moonlight, and dispelled the darkness of grief from the minds of Gopikas. And in the next sloka, Bhattadari has a question. O Bhagavane, what all things did the Gopikas not do in their excitement? O Guruvairappa, you had thus reappeared before the Gopikas, immersing them in joy. So can't you be pleased to save me also from my ailments and bless me? You appeared before Gopikas and took care of their grief. You can do the same thing to me. So this is how he does the barter at the end of each chapter. So this is the 10th sloka of Dasakam 67 from Bhattadari. There is a beautiful subtle expression here. Tanvayaha kimna chakruhu. What all did they not do to get you back? That is the question Bhattadari asked. The poet, while posing this question, has answered it himself right here. In this context, the sloka that describes the doings of Gopikas intoxicated with strains of music by Bhagavan's flute, Haram Nitam Babuhi, if you remember the Dasaka 65, sloka 5, Haram Nitam Babuhi is worthy of recall. Here too, the end games of love that rekindle the dying passions are implied. We can see that when he narrated that the Gopikas saw Bhagavan before them, the poet's heart was also craving for Bhagavan's darshanam. It is this experience that comes to us when we read stories of Krishna, whether it is Suka's description or Bhattadari's description. Let us, along with the poet Bhattadari, pray that Bhagavan appears before us too, just as he, with a compassionate heart, did before the piteously lamenting Gopikas, as the Madana Gopala Murti enveloped in smile the bewitching Jagatrayi Mohana Mohanatma Tvam Pradurasi Ai Mandahasi. Let us now listen to Sloka 184 and Gadyam 27 from Narana Tirtha in Tarangam 8. Gopishu Mrigayantishu Gopishu Mrigayantishu Vane Gopalanandanam Atmanam Darsayamase Chikirshu Bhuhu Anugraham Atakkalu Vallava Yuvadyo Nija Vallava Viraga Santava Janita Duranta Chinta Santava Mandigrita Brahma Vishaya Viveka Vrittima Chittavadyaha Muhurmuhu Tadiya Leela Vinoda Navarasa Vishkarana Pravinaha Apanga Pratyanga
गुणागण समविषम बलाबल विलास बिलसित ग्रीवाशिरः कौपत्रभंगी ललित दिव्यगात्र भ्रूनेत्रहस्त विशेषाद्यम् आविष्कृत नवरस अलंकार अलंकृत विविधलास्य विशेषं स्फुरत् अदर मणिपरिमिलित मुरली कलरव सुधावतीरित सुधाकण्डमण्डलं स्मारं स्मारं स्वस्वान्तः अन्तःकरणापायेन सर्वान्तरङ्गं मदनशतकोटि सुन्दराङ्गं ध्यायन्त्य मनसा प्रणमन्त्यः शिरसा गायन्त्यो वचसा च पुरः स्थितमिव सम्बोध्य प्रत्येकं गोपालम् अगायन्त सुन्दराङ्गं ध्यायन्त्यो मनसा प्रणमन्त्यः शिरसा गायन्त्यो वचसा च पुरः स्थितमिव सम्बोध्य प्रत्येकं गोपालम् अगायन्त मदनशतकोटिवेषं मदनशतकोटिवेषं माधवमादाय मामके मनसि विदलितसुररिपुवृन्दं विष्णुगायानि विश्वभर्तारं विदलितसुररिपुवृन्दं विष्णुगायामि विश्वभर्तारं गायामि विश्वभर्तारम् नन्दनन्दन गोपाल जय जय नन्द नन्दन गोपाल जय जय नवनीत गोपाल जय जय नन्द नन्दन गोपाल जय जय नवनीत चोर गोपाल गंधर्प शतकोटि सुंदर सुखकर मंदगशी गोपाल वृंदावन गो वृंद यमुनानंद चंद्र गोपाल जय नंद नंदन गोपाल लीला मानुष पालक वेश बलानुज लीला मानुष पालक वेश बलानुज विग्रह गोपाल जय जय मुरलीधर मुनि वृंद विचिन्तित मुरलीधर मुनि वृंद विचिन्तित मुखजना श्रिय गोपाल ஜய ஜய நவநீத கோபால நந்த சுநந்ததி வந்தித சரண விந்த பாதித விபுவந்த போத கணநந்த சாதித ஜகதண்ட கோபல நந்த நந்தன கோபால கோபி மன்மத கோபரி பாலக கோவர்தனோ தர ஸ்ரீ கோபயால ராசமண்டல நடன தாசஜனவன வாசவதி கோபால மூல காரண மோக பாரகம் லக்ஷ்மி பால பாரியதீப கோபால கோர பவனவ தாரக பலித கோர பவனவ தாரக பலித நாராயண தீர்த்த கோபால நந்த நந்தன கோபால ஜய ஜய நவநீத கோர கோபால ஜய ஜய நந்தன கோபால கோபால
You saw the meaning of Slokam 185 and Geetam 76. Pretty simple, it's a benediction. Since I'm keen on going sequentially and as shown in the most authentic version of Tarangini, I have to mention some aspects of the sequence in Tarangam 8 for clarity. Based on Slokams 184 and 185 and Geetam 76, which we just listened now, leaving aside Gadyam that only narrated the scenario, we would normally assume that Krishna had reappeared before the Gopies at their behest and pleas. The songs of Viraha and Lamentations for praying for the return of their Krishna should stop here and Gopies would resume the Rasa Leela. That would be the normal expectation, like in any literature. Ironically, Sri Naranatirtha seemed to enjoy the Gopies' lamentations so much. Even though leading to greater praise and benedictions at that point, he continues the slokams 186 and 187 and Geetam 77 as though Krishna had not reappeared before the Gopies. In slokams 186 and 187, Tirtha imagines a cute scene when Gopies were trying to identify the footprints of a girl besides the footprints of Krishna. So that you are not confused about the sequence, I had to give this explanation. We will adjourn now and see how the slokams 186 and 187 pair with the Geetam 77 and onwards for further benedictions.
Narayana 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 Hare Krishna Guru